Hey everyone, this is Bo. In this video, we're going to be setting out to build some nightstands or some bedside tables. They're going to look like this. They're pretty simple in nature, at least the way they look and their construction. So hopefully should be a pretty quick project. I have got some work done on these nightstands already, so let me catch you up to where I'm at. Behind me here, can't really see it, maybe you can. Yep, back here, these are the tops for the nightstands. That material's already been milled, joint ripped, and then the panel's been glued up and it's just been sitting there. I just got the clamps a little bit ago. Over here on the bench, we have a number of things milled. We've got face frame materials all milled up. We've got the legs all milled up. And we've got some drawer face material that hasn't been touched yet. It's just been rough cut to length. There's also some plywood panels that have been cut to size, and some hardwood edging's been added to the bottom of them. I'll be flushing up that edging on the table saw with the L-fence. After that, I'll turn my attention to adding some joinery in the legs, the panels, and the face frame here using loose tenons and the domino. So, why don't you stay tuned, see how this thing turns out, and let's get to work. Alright, so the nightstands are out of the clamps and they are starting to look like, you know, a nightstand or a piece of furniture, which is always nice to see. But I got a little excited to do the final glue up, and I did forget a couple of things I wanted to do before it got to this state. And one of them was attaching some cleats to the bottom inside surface. I'm going to attach a bottom to this and I'm going to screw it into these cleats. And the reason for that is because there's a heat vent that this sits on top of, and that heat vent's got a deflector, but still I like to have a kind of a solid surface there so the heat has a easier way of getting out into the room and not get trapped inside the nightstand itself. So I need to add these cleats. Simple, I'm just going to add a little bit of glue, some screws. Actually, I'll probably put a brad nail in and then screw it just so it stays in place. And then I'll cut the bottom out for it so it fits in there. And then for the most part, the assembly here is done. And I'm going to turn my attention to the drawers after that. And so I've got the hardwood edging added to the drawer pieces. And so I need to do the final cut to size on all of these, and then of course flush up the hardwood edging. So here we go. We're going to continue on and get going. Yeah. So I went to set that bottom panel in place, and it was actually proud of the front stretcher by about 1/8 of an inch. At the time, I didn't realize that the lower edge of the plywood, sides and back, as well as the lower edge of that stretcher were not all in the same elevation. So what I did to correct this, since the cleats were glued on, I cut a rabbet into all 4 edges of that piece of plywood for the bottom. And then the depth of the rabbet for the very front had to be modified to get it all fit nice and flat and be, I say, level with the ground, if you will. Oh well. All right, so we've gotten the drawers in the clamps there. The glue is currently drying. While the glue was setting up, I've been working on some other components. First of all, the false fronts. All that material had to be cut and milled, so that's over here milled and acclimating, get a final milling before it's cut to size. As well, I've been milling up some material for basically a small sliding box inside the drawers. So I got some runner pieces here that have been cut, milled, and then those will get glued and clamped into place. And then as well, the material for the box has also been milled. It's also acclimating over here in the corner. And so next up is going to be to get these out the clamps, get the add the reinforcements in the corner, some dowels, and then start working on those small boxes and getting the drawers mounted in the cabinets. So here we go. Alright, so I've got the drawers out of the clamps. I've added the little runner pieces or ledge pieces inside the drawers that will support the sliding box that goes back and forth. And I also probably need to explain this cute thing on the side of the drawer here, this racing stripe. All the drawers fit in the drawer slides, but 3 of the 4 were a little too tight and kind of felt like the drawer side was getting jammed up. So I took it to the router table and took off a very shallow pass off of all the, or not all of them, 3 of the 4 drawers. The 4th one fit wonderfully. So I'm not sure, a little bit of inconsistency in the plywood maybe, or maybe a little bit of bow in this 1/2-inch plywood, I'm not sure. But anyway, they're all moving freely now and all working nice. Got a few more things here to do on the nightstands. First is to add some slots for the tabletop fasteners. I meant to do that earlier in the process, forgot, so now I just got my biscuit joiner set up to cut this slot here. I just got the height dialed in, and then use these little Z-style fasteners. I also am going to be starting on the drawer fronts. So they have been milled and have been acclimating over in the side of the shop for I don't even know, a week or more, that's for sure. So now I'm going to just do a really light pass on the joiner, make sure they're still flat, pass them through the planer ones, and then cut them to size. In my head right now I'm thinking 3/32 left to right, and then maybe like a fat 1/8 inch on top and bottom to allow a little bit more expansion in the summertime. I think that should be pretty good. So we're going to get started with the biscuit joiner, and then we're going to move on to the drawer fronts. All of the parts have been sanded. I give them a little wet down and a resand. And so everything is now ready for paint or polyurethane, depending on what component it is. The drawers will just get polyed, as well as the small little inset boxes that slide. Those will just get polyurethane. The nightstands, the drawer fronts, the tops, the pulls, they will all be getting painted. So I'm going to start with the paint side and then move on to poly at the end. But first, we have to clean up the shop and need some plastic down. So here we go. So I've been on the hunt for paint products and a process that really works well, and I think I've landed on a couple of solutions that I like. The Insulex Sticks Primer. It's water based, dries really fast. I do have to thin it with water to spray it properly and get a nice coat, but it sands up and dusts up really nice and flat. And this is the first project where I've used this Corotech Command. I get the Benjamin Moore store, and I was a little apprehensive about using it. I was worried it was going to dry too fast, but honestly, it sprayed out of the gun really nicely. I did thin it with water, and it dried really flat and super fast. So far, I really like it. The finished product looks great. Time will tell on the durability. All right, everyone. I appreciate you watching. If you made it this far, there are some outtakes coming up here shortly, so you can watch me be an idiot on film here. Have a happy holidays. Enjoy your time, and have a good one. Whoa. I'm just going to sit on the floor the entire time. No, that's not going to work. They turned out pretty nice, surprisingly. Nope, start again. Stay tuned. See how it came about. See how it went. Yes. Nope, you already saw how they turned out. Why don't you stay tuned and see how it went to get here? That's more correct.